welcome back. It's time for us to take a look into the dailies and see what they have to serve for breakfast this morning. I'm going to start with Okwe's favorite newspaper, the Guardian newspaper. Unfortunately, I'm the one going to take it this morning, and you're going to take my favorite newspaper. Anyway, all right, the banner headline of the Guardian newspaper: banks grapple with asset quality validation tests after 4.65 trillion capital. NCAA raises concern over domestic airline service failures. NDC offers Obi Kwakwanso joint presidential ticket. And, as Okwe said, perhaps I'm a prophet after all. No, it's not going to be possible. The time is too short. Oh, blah, 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 and all of that. Well, I always say that in Nigeria, listen to me, if you're not just coming into Nigeria, then you better smell the coffee and understand how it works here. You know, it could be a fire brigade approach at any time. Anything can happen. And, you know, sometimes when I tell people who sit in my car, if or when I'm driving, that guess what? You know, I am prepared just in case a car flies out of the third mainland bridge waters onto the road. That's possible. You know, that's how much, you know, my mind is conditioned that anything, any and everything can happen in Nigeria. So nothing ever takes me unawares. Perhaps because I've, you know, spent a while, you know, and I'm still going to spend another long while, you know, before I say goodbye to Earth. Anyway, it's not surprising to me that this is coming, this is playing out. Okay, APC crisis festers as 5 states face exclusion from primaries and convention. Ground handlers may suspend operations over airline 9 billion debt. Okay, but I thought that the president said he was going to do something about the debts for the airlines. There was going to be like some sort of
some relief
subsidy,
yes
sort of.
I don't know. I think they've not seen what they were promised, and
Okay, so
it looks like
they're going ahead.
It's going to be a major shutdown sometime this week. And for the ground handlers, if they're going to suspend, I just feel we don't need these distractions right now. There's a whole lot going on, and if the government can find a way to just sort pocket of issues, 9 billion is not so much of what the government can add, even if you don't pay everything. Whatever you promise them, incentive, tax relief, or debt relief, put it out in papers and let everybody move on.
And I think it's something that the president can even just call 1 or 2 people and say, look, we have this debt we need to pay. Can you just sort it out
in return for so and
for
so?
what
Exactly.
do like a barter arrangement? There are many ways, you know, to go about it, but it really depends on how our leadership is going to take it or is looking at it. Perhaps it's not important. It may not be important. Don't forget that most of these people have their private jets,
Of
so
course.
it's not going to affect them in any way. All right, backlash over Alausa's stand on social science courses amid widening job crisis. Lagos State government signs power purchase agreements with 3 IPP firms. Serap, Nigeria Guild of Editors, sue NBC over threat to sanction broadcasters. 2027, group predicts APC likely to lose in Nasarawa. Cracks hurdles in united opposition hand APC strategic edge ahead of 2027. And finally, from the Guardian newspaper, PolySmart raises 3, is this 3 or 13? 13
billion.
No, it's 13 billion from commercial paper to improve industrial agenda. That's it from the Guardian newspaper. We'll take a look at the Punch newspaper.
Okay, the screaming headline for Punch says the Ibadan meeting, PDP ADC blocks reject joint presidential ticket with the rider Wike camp. Atiku mark misled by impostors. That is coming from the camp of the FCT minister. Atiku ADC faction, Labour Party disowns meetings. APC questions Makinde's fitness for office over Operation Wettier comments. And let's quickly go to the top right corner. NNPC refineries would never work again. That is coming from former President Olusegun Obasanjo. That story is on page 30 of the Punch. 4 price hike. Airlines plan Thursday shutdown. Shut down, I beg you. I think that's in reference to the land,
Yeah, handlers.
handlers. Article warns against suspending campaigns in Borno, Benue, and others. There's a little story on Ondo states. Primaries, how power struggle threatens Ondo APC's unity. With a picture of the governor of Ondo State, His Excellency Lucky Aiyedatiwa, and the Minister of Interior, Honorable Lubumi Tunji Ojo. I think those are the 2 big players at the Ondo State political scene at the moment. Well, INEC Gabon recognition sparks fresh SDP row. Why OAU declined venue for Peter Obi's lecture? That is coming from the management. Well, there's a picture of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu receiving some guests at the State House over the weekend with the managing director of Julius Berger Nigeria Limited, Dr. P. Laborch, and the chairman of Julius Berger Nigeria PLC, engineer Goni Sheikh. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the vice chairman, Julius Berger PLC, Mr. George Marks, are during the visit to the president. Another UK-based Nigerian found dead at workplace. That is page 4 of the Punch newspaper. That's quite an unfortunate story, by the way.
Very unfortunate.
That's much that Punch is offering. Maybe Daily Sun will offer something different, because it looks like everybody is repeating the same stories this
Well, that's what usually happens in most of the dailies on a daily basis as well. Okay, let's look at the Daily Sun. PDP factions clash over Makinde's Ibadan speech. There's so much being said about Makinde's Ibadan speech. Yeah. But was it true or was it not true? Did it have some substance in it? You know, if you ask me, perhaps not at this point, but there's some substance in it, so we can't just throw away the baby and the bathwater. Let's actually go back and listen to that speech or read the speech. 2027 NDC offers Obi Kwakwanso joint ticket, and the writer for that story gives Duo 2-week window to join party, be its presidential and vice presidential candidates. CBN tightens nose, mops up 2.8 trillion from banks. No fresh tax on vehicles, federal government. Fuel price hike feared as Trump cancels second Iran meeting. Marketers fret. Well, even in this little space, this little window, I don't think we felt the effect of a reduction in fuel price. We've not. So, what else? Varsity VC laments high rate of ritualists in Nigeria and warns students. Well, even secondary school students have started to do what they call Yahoo++. And I asked, I said, what is Yahoo++? And someone said, Yahoo that now involves, rituals. I'm like, where? How do these young ones, get involved in such things? I mean, they really have the mind. You don't look at people. They say never judge a book by its cover, Sometimes you look at them and you say, oh, they're so young and they're so innocent, and you want to, relate, what used to be back in the day when you were growing up to their own, circumstance or situation at the moment. But that's really not the case. These younger ones know a whole lot more than you do, and they are so daring.
Well, there's a whole lot of space that people are trying to thrive these days, and sometimes it calls into question family values, societal acceptance, what is now a normal within the society. And when you talked about secondary school students now into advanced
Rituals.
fee
Yeah.
fraud,
Yeah.
and then they tell you that there's a plus around it, and it's because the society glamorizes materialism so bad that you probably don't feel human if you don't fall into a certain scope in terms of, oh, then you start hearing people, is that one not your mates? What are you doing? Even parents are putting huge pressure. Kids that are supposed to still be under their parents are now the ones taking care of their parents. So children are now taking the role of providers and givers in the family. It's a whole lot of problem. I've seen a lot of instances like that. You know, little children, kids, young boys, young girls are getting into quite a lot of things. And there's a need for the vice chancellor to be worried, because if it comes into the academia, into a space where futures are supposed to be molded, where you should get the basic foundation that would help you go far in life. If that foundation space is faulty, if what happens in that pool does not exactly give you the right mindset to go into the larger society, then we should be worried. If the school is worried, I'm sure the vice chancellor must have seen a whole lot, and for him to come out and say, listen, this whole Yahoo Plus thing is getting really disturbing, then everyone should be disturbed, because the university space forms your mental strength, builds you for the days ahead as an adult. So if someone from that space is raising concerns, then I think everybody should start listening and then start paying more attention, because it looks like everybody's just looking away. Now we have a session of Yahoo Boys mothers. We have people protesting if they arrest Yahoo Boys. They tell you that, oh, because job no day. If you are justifying criminality on the basis of the current economic hardship, then everybody should go into crime. Nobody should be working hard. Nobody should want to struggle. If you are saying because the reason why there's armed robbery, where there's internet fraud everywhere, when there's now the entire plus thing they put around it is because the economy is bad, then people like us should not be waking up at 6 o'clock to prepare for shows. People should not be getting up as early as 5 to get to their place of work, and they earn a salary that would not even take them a week into the new month. So I think it's something that the society would need to sit around about. Hey, we are so distracted now that we don't even care what the next generation coming up is about. Maybe people don't know what is coming.
Okay, so I'll go back to that headline. Varsity VC laments high rate of ritualists in Nigeria and one student. Now, the truth of this whole statement, from my own perspective, is that the vice chancellor, has his own community, and that community is the university. So perhaps, the vice chancellor is more worried about the rate of ritualists among the students, but may not, and I said perhaps, but may not be able to say it whole because he knows there will be repercussions. You understand? So he's being careful. He has made a blanket statement, and he is now warning the students not to be part of it or to be careful. Now, like you rightly said, Bibire Koshe Fowora, meaning that when you have, when you come from a good background, it's nothing that money can buy. You see, these values are just passed on to children who come from a good background. And honestly, maybe with some sort of experience, for me, I am able to discern children who come from good backgrounds. No matter how much you want to camouflage, I'm able to tell that, oh, this one's parents spent a whole lot of time trying to mold this child, invested in this child, has brought this child up with values, the kind of values that we need more of, that we're lacking so much of in society. It is very important that parents take time out to ensure that they know what their children are doing at every stage of the children's life. Every single stage of the children's life. There is absolutely no amount of money that can buy that. Now, just as Okwe rightly said, some parents even now sit and wait for the children to bring money for them to eat. There's a Yoruba adage, and it says, "Ọlọ́run á jẹ́ ká dúró jẹun ọmọ," which means that may God spare our lives such that we can reap the fruits of our labor and eat, what our children provide for us. But there's also a clause to that statement. It says, but nidu ṣùgbọ́n nidu domo kato jẹun, meaning that, but we will not, may God not allow us or let us be dependent on the children such that without them, we will not feed. You see, there are two different things. They sound so much alike, but they're two very, very different things. And that's the prayer of every elder one who has invested in the children, that God will keep us to reap the fruits of our labor, but not to be dependent on our children. May He give us sufficiency, as long as we have good health, sound mind, and He gives us, everything that we need. We pray that He continues to provide for us. So that's one of the major problems I see happening. Parents have started to become so lazy that they're putting the burden on their children, forgetting that really and truly it is their obligation to ensure that their children do well at home and in society.
Well, very interesting take. And that is coming from a mother or a grandmother at that. So it should drive home deeper. And then I'm sure a lot of people understand. They would always say that that means your child is not a dry cleaner, but he's bringing clothes home. And you're not asking where he's getting those clothes. There'll be consequences when the trouble starts. When your child get involved in criminality, and then they come to pick you up. We've seen cases where, kids were being looked for, and then they can't find them, and they pick up their parents. So everyone have roles to play.
Which is the right thing to do.
Yes, I'm sure the media would also try to escalate issues like this. Let's go to the nation. Stock market targets 25 trillion turnover from expanded window. That is page 13 of the Nation newspaper. I'm just reading from the top right corner. Stakeholders jet A1 crisis threatens 2026 Hajj. Is driving home gradually because I've seen how politicians use this whole Hajj thing as a means to campaign during election and it to bounce back. Peter Obi way offers from NDC. So for context, the NDC is a newly registered political party in Nigeria and is being owned or controlled by the former governor of Bayelsa State, current senator representing Bayelsa West Senatorial District, that distinguished Senator Seraki Dixon, is the national leader of the National Democratic Congress. And he was smart. He made sure that the party got registered before the INEC deadline. So as it is now, he doesn't have any presidential candidates. So it's more like the official special purpose vehicle that Labour Party was in 2023. So now they are saying, if the ADC calculation is too hard for you, we will give you Obi and Kwankwaso ticket. Come. But the risk in that is this. You will have to literally establish that political party across the country, plus the over 187,000 polling units that we have in this country, 774 local governments, 109 senatorial districts, 360 House of Representative seats. You would have to go into those places and register the party on the minds of those people. But the question is this, is there enough time? Well, the NDC is offering Peter Obi and Rabi Musa Kwankwaso a ticket. That's going to be a big gamble, by the way. I'm talking about gambling. Sule's gamble. APC imminent loss.
Are you moving away from that in a hurry? We don't have the time, but let me also lend my little voice to this thing now. Perhaps you never can tell. They may. What if they take the offer? What will you say? They may take the offer. You, in your own opinion, they will have to do this amount of work. Nothing in life comes easy. The work that you do, is not easy. That's the truth. So if they have to do the work, they have to do the work. Perhaps there may be some, to move out so that they leave the ground open for certain other people who are also aspiring to come back again, on that same platform. And you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
So, think this is politics. But let me tell you something. I learned that we should not get carried away in in Nigerian politics or politicking, because a lot happens behind the scene that we don't even know. So one must be careful, because this thing just goes around and it comes around and goes around and comes around. You'll be shocked. Let's watch from here what will happen.
Well, I want to be shocked because I want absolute competition in this election. So that the conversation doesn't go one way. Well, the final story. So there's a press statement from the Kwara State government on the trial of Senator Saraki and others in respect of the Offa robbery incident. So there's been a lot of backlash against the Kwara State government, saying that because the governor of Kwara State, Governor Abdul Rahman, is the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, is also an APC member. So there are insinuations that the trial of the former president of the Senate may be politically, motivated.
Manipulated or
exactly.
motivated.
So they have to put up the statement. Where it's here, more knocks for Makinde, and that is just that bold headline for the Nation newspaper. Well, let's check Tribune.
Okay, the Nigerian Tribune, that's the last newspaper this morning. More senators under pressure to defect. APC's strength may hit 102. Operation Wete, PDP, APC exchange words. APC Wike backed PDP, carpet Makinde. Oyo PDP, Turaki-led PDP counter say Oyo governors stance advisory. Okay, so some of the PDP factions believe that what Makinde said, has some depth, and others are just dismissing it, as something that doesn't hold any water. All right, finally, you want to say something?
Yes, the first headline you took, the top right corner, more senators under pressure to defect. APC strength may hit 102, and that is chaotic.
What's chaotic about it?
The Nigerian Senate is 109, and to have a simple majority, you would have to have give and take 59.
I think I know all those things.
To have absolute majority, you have to have 77 out of 109. So what that means is this: there won't be any votes in the House. There won't be any objection to anything in the House. Once any bill is brought to the floor of the House, whether it's an executive bill, it is going to be a no vote, meaning that the APC controls the entire structure of the Senate. So there won't be any arguments. If the president says they want to borrow 1 trillion and they want to use 10 million Nigerians as collateral or shorty, the Senate would approve it. So there won't be debate on the floor of the House, and that is a problem to our democracy, because the idea of having a functional Senate is not just to make laws, it's to perform oversight functions to the executive. So if the executive is going astray, if certain ministers are misbehaving, including the president himself,
checks and balances.
The Senate is supposed to invite the president and provide checks and balances. That is why we have committees on the Senate, Committee on Works, House Committee on Upstream, Downstream Sector, Security. So they're supposed to perform oversight functions and, in case it need be, sanctions members of the executive. But when you have the entire Senate wearing the emblem of the president, singing on your mandate in official capacity, that's an independent organ of government that is supposed to be the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. So if the legislative is dancing to the tune of the executive, and even the independence of the judiciary is also being questioned, that means we don't have arms of government. The same way people are expressing fear of us turning into a one-party state, we may eventually turn into a one-government structure. That means the judiciary is under the executive, the legislative is also under the executive. So if you have 109 senators and the APC start getting 102, there's problem.
Okay, there's no problem. This is Nigeria, and I don't know why you behave like you just came back. Just got back. How did my children say? Just get back. I don't know. There's this way they say it. Okay, look, I always tell you that once it is Nigeria, don't let anything worry you. Don't let anything destabilize you. Don't get too overly excited about anything. Let me tell you something. Okay, write it down. After the elections, let's come and talk. Okay? You know when they say the more you look,
the less you see.
Just hold that again. Okay? After the elections, Okwe, let's talk about this. After the elections, let's talk about it. This is politicking.
At the highest level.
At the highest level. Take it or leave it. I'm not going to say too much about it. But you see, I always say that Nigeria will always unfold. On a daily basis, we will see things that would be captivating. We'll see things that will be discouraging. We'll see things that will excite us. We'll see things that will shock us. All sorts of things happen on a daily basis. But again, I say, Okwe, let's wait. After the elections, we'll talk about it.
Okay, that's much. I just said to jump on that story from your headline.
Okay,
I think the bulk of the papers are not giving so much on headlines today.
Well, yeah, even the Nigerian Tribune, which is the last of the papers, you know, that's really what we have there. And then we have the trial of Senator Saraki and others in respect of the Offa robbery incident. That's basically it. And with that, we'd like to call it a shot on the newspaper review segment of the Breakfast Express show this morning. We will take a break right now, and when we return, we'll be going into our discussion segment. But just to give you heads up, for those of you who are watching this program and are interested in, you know, being part of the program, our lines are going to be thrown open. You can send us WhatsApp messages. You can drop your message on any of our social media handles. And while doing that, just quickly click the subscribe and like button. And also you can give us a call. We'll be here, right here on this table, to pick your calls and respond to all your messages. So bring them on. We're capable. We'll take this break, and when we come back, we'll be here for just you, and you.
No limits.
Welcome to the Africa Magic Viewers' Choice Award.
This isn't a reset.
It's an evolution.
Arsenal at the top of the Premier League table.
We're going to build our paradise here on earth.
Looks up and he makes contact with his old rival.
Moments turn into memories. History into legacy.
Anything can happen.